the last productive window. The tomato cages are coming out, the cucumber vines are tired, and patches of bare soil are appearing where summer crops once filled the bed. That usually looks like the end of the season. In August, it can be the beginning of a second one. 20 crops are competing for that remaining space, but they are not equal. One can give you a crisp root harvest in barely a month. Another can feed you twice, first from the leaves and later from the root. One transplant has such a narrow timing window that a healthy plant may still produce nothing but foliage. And the crop that earns number one is not the fastest crop on this list. This is not a countdown of plants that can technically germinate in August. It is a ranking of crops that can turn the season you have left into the most usable food. Speed matters. Repeat harvest matters. Space matters. Cold tolerance matters. Most of all, the crop must have a realistic chance to pay you back before your weather closes the garden. Choose well, and an empty summer bed can produce salads, cooking greens, roots, stems, and storage food through fall. Choose poorly, and you may spend 6 weeks watering a beautiful plant that never reaches the harvest you planted it for. The ranking will separate a crop that gives one dramatic harvest from a crop that feeds you repeatedly. That difference is where many August lists become misleading. August is not the end of the garden. It is the final draft. Before one seed earns a place, however, we need the calculation that separates a real harvest plan from a hopeful gamble. Start with your average first fall frost date, not your hardiness zone. A zone describes typical winter cold. It does not tell you whether your first damaging frost usually arrives in late September, October, or much later. For this decision, that date is the clock. Suppose your average first frost is October 20th and today is August 10th. That gives you about 70 days. Now read the seed packet carefully. A crop listed at 50 days may appear safe, but autumn growth often slows as days shorten and nights cool. A practical buffer of roughly 1 or 2 weeks gives the crop room for uneven germination, transplant shock, cloudy weather, and slower late-season growth. That buffer is planting insurance, not a guarantee. The next question is where the maturity count begins. For a direct-seeded radish, it usually begins when the seed goes into the soil. For broccoli, cabbage, or cauliflower, the advertised days may begin after a developed transplant enters the bed. Starting that same crop from seed outdoors can add weeks you do not have. Then decide what counts as success. A lettuce plant can provide baby leaves before it forms a full head. Beet thinnings are edible before the roots enlarge. Pea shoots may be useful even when pods are unlikely. Late-season productivity improves when you stop measuring every crop only by its largest possible form. Finally, inspect your own microclimate. A low pocket may freeze before the rest of the yard. A bed near a warm wall may gain time. Containers cool and dry differently from deep ground. The scoring system is simple. First, usable harvest, repeat harvest, food from limited space, tolerance of cooling weather, and reliability before frost. If those 70 days include hot soil, a cold low spot, or a transplant needing hardening, reduce confidence. The calendar filters risk. It does not erase the bed. A packet gives you a number. Autumn decides whether that number is useful. With that test in place, the first 4 crops reveal the highest risk choices, where an impressive harvest is possible only when the remaining runway truly fits. Number 20 is zucchini. In a long, warm autumn, one vigorous plant can produce repeatedly and fill a basket quickly. That potential explains why it makes the list. It ranks last because August zucchini needs more than a maturity number. It needs warm soil, steady growth, pollination, space, and enough frost-free time for repeated picking. The common mistake is seeing 50 to 60 days and assuming the first fruit is guaranteed. In a short season, use that bed for something colder and faster. In a genuinely long season, choose an early variety, sow into warm soil, and treat it as a calculated gamble. Number 19 is bush beans. They use space efficiently, mature faster than pole beans, and can produce several pickings when nights remain warm. But even a light frost can end the crop. The August mistake is planting by the calendar month instead of counting backward from local frost. If enough warm days remain, choose an early bush variety, plant into an evenly moist seed bed, and keep the surface from baking hard before emergence. A bean planted at the right time can be productive. The same bean planted 2 weeks late may become an attractive cover crop. Number 18 is fall peas. Peas prefer the cooler weather ahead, but the journey through hot August soil can be rough. Germination may be uneven, and pod production often takes longer in shortening days than it did in spring. Their productivity advantage is flexibility. Tender shoots can be harvested before pods, and a short trellis turns vertical space into food. The mistake is promising yourself a full pod crop without enough flowering time. Choose an early type, sow a little extra, provide support before vines sprawl, and decide whether shoots or pods are the realistic goal. Number 17 is cauliflower, the deadline crop. A good head can be valuable, but nearly all the plant's payoff is concentrated in one central result. Heat stress, transplant shock, interrupted growth, or a season that ends too soon can leave a full bed of leaves. The August mistake is direct sowing a long-season variety because the packet looks fast. In many regions, healthy transplants and an early cultivar are the safer choice. Set them out during a cooler stretch, keep the root zone evenly moist, and protect new transplants from harsh afternoon sun while they establish. These four sit low because their productive stage arrives late. Zucchini and beans must establish, flower, and set fruit. Peas must climb and bloom. Cauliflower must build a frame before forming a usable head. A radish can reward a short window with one root. These crops need steps to go right in sequence. That does not make them failures. It makes them expensive choices when days are scarce. A crop can grow and still fail to produce. Cauliflower proves that survival is not the same as harvest. The next group is more dependable, but each crop demands payment in time, space, or careful establishment before it earns a place. Number 16 is cabbage. A dense head provides substantial food and stores better than many tender greens, but it occupies valuable ground while it forms. Large storage varieties may need more time than an August gardener can safely give them. The common mistake is choosing the biggest head pictured on the packet. Where the window is tight, use a compact, early variety or healthy transplant. Give each plant airflow and keep moisture steady while the head develops. Cabbage scores well for cold tolerance and storage, but loses points for space and patience. Number 15 is broccoli. It earns a higher position because the central head may be followed by smaller side shoots, extending the harvest after the first cut. The trap is misunderstanding the maturity number. A packet marked around 60 days may be counting from transplanting, not from the day seed is started. In a short August window, established transplants are usually the practical route. Harden them gradually, plant during cooler hours, and cut the main head while the buds remain tight. Leave the plant standing so the side shoots can keep the bed productive. Number 14 is carrots. They fit many roots into a narrow row, can be pulled at different sizes, and often improve in eating quality as conditions cool. Yet August carrots frequently fail before a single green thread appears. Their shallow seed sits in the hottest, fastest drying layer of soil. The mistake is watering once, seeing a dark surface, and walking away for 2 days. Prepare loose soil, choose a shorter or early variety when time is limited, water gently, and protect the row with a breathable cover or light board that is checked daily and removed as soon as seedlings emerge. A dry crust can erase the entire planting. Number 13 is kohlrabi. It looks unusual, but it uses space efficiently and can reach a useful size faster than many heading brassicas. The swollen stem and tender leaves are edible, giving it more value than its appearance suggests. Its August weakness is crowding. Plants forced together make smaller, tougher stems, and oversized kohlrabi can become woody. Sow or transplant with realistic spacing, maintain even moisture, and harvest while the stem is still tender, rather than waiting for a giant specimen. This group shows why bed space belongs in the calculation. One cabbage or broccoli transplant can occupy the footprint that might hold radishes, scallions, or baby greens. That plant can be worthwhile when storage, head weight, or side shoots match your goal. But when the season is short, every square foot needs a clear job. Carrots and kohlrabi recover efficiency through closer spacing, yet both depend on establishment. Productivity is not simply what one plant can become. It is what the bed can deliver before time runs out. Cabbage brings storage, broccoli adds side shoots, carrots reward patience. Kohlrabi compresses a cool season harvest into less space. The next four move higher because they begin paying the gardener back before reaching their advertised final form. Number 12 is bok choy. It can be harvested as a compact baby plant, so the gardener does not need to wait for a full-sized head. Crisp stems and tender leaves make nearly the entire plant usable. Its weakness is timing. Hot weather and stress can encourage bolting, while a late start can leave little growth before cold slows the bed. Choose a quick baby type, plant during a cooler spell, or use transplants, and harvest small if the calendar becomes tight. Number 11 is green onions. August is not the moment to promise yourself large storage bulbs from seed. Their productivity comes from accepting a smaller, earlier harvest. Young tops and slender white stems can be used long before a bulb reaches full size. The mistake is judging them by onion standards meant for another season. Use sets, transplants, or a fast bunching type. Space them closely for scallions and harvest as soon as the stems are useful in the kitchen. A short row can provide repeated snips or staggered pulls without occupying much ground. Number 10 is beets. Beet seed is usually a cluster, so several seedlings may emerge from one spot. That looks like a problem until the thinnings become the first harvest. Young leaves can be eaten, larger greens can be cut carefully, and the remaining plants develop roots. The mistake is leaving every seedling crowded together and expecting round beets below. Thin deliberately, use the clean, healthy leaves, then leave enough room for selected roots to enlarge. Beets rise in the ranking because one sowing provides food at several stages. Number 9 is leaf lettuce. It earns its place through speed, density, and flexible harvesting. Baby leaves are useful early, while outer leaf picking can keep the center growing. A full head is unnecessary. The August danger is heat. Hot soil can reduce germination, and high temperatures can produce bitter leaves or early bolting. Plant into afternoon shade where summers remain intense. Sow lightly. Keep the seed zone damp without making mud, and choose leaf or slow bolting varieties rather than demanding a perfect head. These crops give you room to correct mistakes. If a few beet seedlings fail, the remaining plants provide leaves and roots. If lettuce starts bolting, baby leaves can be cut before quality collapses. Bok choy can leave the bed young, and scallions can be pulled before they resemble storage onions. That flexibility matters in August because weather rarely follows the packet perfectly. A crop with several acceptable harvest stages offers more ways to succeed than one crop waiting for a single ideal finish. Late-season productivity begins when you stop waiting for supermarket size. Bok choy can leave the bed as a baby plant. Green onions are valuable before bulbing. Beet thinnings become food. Lettuce pays in leaves before a head exists. The next three are specialists. One wins with quick peppery leaves, one is the fastest root harvest in the draft, and one turns a large plant into months of repeated picking. Number 8 is arugula. Warm summer leaves can become strong and coarse, but cooler fall growth is often more tender. The crop uses very little space, provides baby leaves quickly, and can regrow after a light cutting when the center remains intact. The August mistake is letting the entire row age at once. Sow a short strip, then another later, and harvest young leaves before flavor becomes overpowering. Number 7 is radish, the speed champion. Many garden types can move from seed to harvest in roughly 3 to 5 weeks, making them the clearest answer when the first frost is close. They fit between slower crops and work well in succession. Their weakness is that most of the payoff arrives once. Leave roots too long, crowd the row, or allow drought stress, and that speed produces woody or harsh radishes instead of useful food. Sow thinly, keep moisture steady, and pull promptly when roots reach the intended size. Radish wins the race. Productivity is more than speed. Number 6 is collard greens. Collards need more room and may not be the fastest crop in northern gardens, but established plants can provide large outer leaves repeatedly as weather cools. That longer harvest life pushes them above radish. The mistake is stripping the center or crowding plants so tightly that airflow disappears. Harvest lower leaves first, preserve the growing point, and give each plant enough space to build a productive crown. In warmer regions, collards can become one of the longest working crops in the entire fall bed. In colder regions, their season may be shorter, so timing still matters. These rankings reveal different meanings of productivity. Arugula makes small space useful quickly. Radish converts time into a complete crop. Collards turn one crown into repeated leaves. The best choice depends on whether your limiting resource is days, space, or harvest frequency. The final 5 score across several limits and changing conditions, separating them clearly from the rest of the board. Arugula wins with quick leaves. Radish wins with speed. Collards win with duration. Now the board narrows to 5 crops that combine more than one advantage at the same time. They are fast enough to matter, adaptable enough to justify the bed, and productive enough to keep returning after the first harvest. Look back at the ranking board. Zucchini and bush beans fell because frost can erase their production overnight. Cauliflower and cabbage can produce valuable heads, but they demand space, time, and correct transplant timing. Radish delivered the fastest root harvest, yet most plants leave the bed after one pull. The final 5 survive because they combine several forms of productivity. They offer an early usable harvest, repeated picking, strong value from limited space, and a better chance of continuing as temperatures cool. None is perfect everywhere. A hot southern August and a short northern August still require different planting dates. But these crops give the gardener more than one path to success. They also offer an escape route when weather changes. Harvest smaller, cut earlier, or protect the growing point for another productive round later. Speed got crops onto the board. Repeat harvest moves them toward the top. Number 5 proves the tension perfectly. It thrives in the cool weather ahead and may even continue after light frost, but hot August soil can prevent the crop from starting at all. Number 5 is spinach. Its strength is the destination. Cooler days encourage leaf production, baby leaves become useful before the plant reaches full size, and careful outer leaf harvests can extend the crop. Established spinach can tolerate some frost, and in suitable climates, protected plants may continue much longer than a warm season vegetable. The weakness is the journey through late summer heat. Spinach seed can germinate poorly when soil remains hot, so sowing on the first day of August is not automatically better than waiting for a cooler spell. The mistake is forcing seed into scorching soil, then drowning the row when nothing appears. Watch the forecast. In a cooler northern garden, early or mid-August may work. Where summer heat lingers, wait until conditions begin to turn. Sow in late afternoon, keep the shallow seed zone evenly moist, and provide temporary shade if the bed receives punishing afternoon sun. A light covering can protect moisture, but remove anything heavy enough to block emerging seedlings. Harvest some leaves young instead of waiting for every plant to become large. Take the outside leaves and leave the center when the plant is established enough to recover. That makes timing more valuable than simply rushing seed into the bed. Spinach loves where August is going. It does not always survive where August begins. The next crop handles that heat-to-fall transition more easily, germinates with less drama, and can turn one narrow row into several spicy cuttings. Number 4 is mustard greens. They earn this position through speed and flexibility. Young leaves can be harvested quickly, mature leaves provide a stronger cooking green, and many types regrow after cutting when the crown remains intact. They also tolerate cooler conditions better than tender summer crops. The August mistake is sowing the entire packet in one dense patch and waiting until every leaf becomes oversized. Crowded mustard can stay small, trap moisture around the foliage, and give the gardener one overwhelming harvest instead of a steady supply. Sow a short row, then repeat the planting later if your season allows. Thin seedlings so the selected plants have room, and use clean, healthy thinnings in the kitchen. Begin harvesting while leaves are young and tender. For repeat cutting, remove outer leaves or cut above the central growing point rather than shaving the plant into the soil. Keep moisture even during establishment, especially while hot weather is still drying the surface. Its strength is not size, it is how quickly rows become useful. Mustard does not need to become large to become productive. It wins because a small area can move from baby greens to cooking leaves, then return with new growth. That combination of speed, density, and repeat harvest places it above spinach for many August gardens. Number 3 gives the same repeated leaf advantage, but it handles lingering summer heat even better and delivers 2 different textures from every harvest. SW. Number 3 is Swiss chard. While spinach can struggle to start in hot soil, established chard handles summer heat far more comfortably and continues producing as temperatures cool. That makes it a bridge crop between 2 seasons. Productivity begins before the plant becomes large. Baby leaves can be harvested young. Mature plants provide broad leaves and thick stems, and those parts can be treated as two ingredients. Cook the chopped stems first, then add the leaves later. The same harvest gives a crisp texture and a tender green. The common mistake is pulling the whole plant after one cutting. Chard produces from the center, so remove the older outside leaves and leave the crown untouched. Give plants enough spacing to catch light and air and keep the root zone from swinging between bone-dry and saturated. In a tight window, harvest smaller leaves rather than waiting for giant plants. Chard is not equally winter-hardy in every location, and a hard freeze may end production. Its high rank comes from what it can do before that point. Survive August heat, provide early leaves, keep replacing harvested foliage, and use both stems and blades. That versatility matters in August. One chard plant is not one harvest. It is a harvest position. Chard nearly wins because it keeps producing above ground. Number 2 moves ahead by offering a completely different bargain. Edible leaves first, followed by a second crop developing beneath the soil.
SW.
Number 2 is turnips. Few August crops make better use of time and space. The young thinnings are edible. The leaves become a cooking green, and the roots continue swelling underneath. One sowing can produce several harvest stages without asking the gardener to wait for one perfect maturity date. The mistake is treating every plant as though it must become a large root. Crowded seedlings cannot size properly, and roots left too long may become woody or strong, especially if heat or drought interrupts growth. Sow evenly, thin in stages, and eat the healthy greens you remove. Leave selected plants with enough room, then pull some roots while they are small and tender, instead of waiting for maximum size. Consistent moisture matters. A dry seedbed can reduce emergence, while severe moisture swings can damage root quality. Turnips generally perform better as conditions cool, and many plantings tolerate light frost, but the calendar still controls whether roots reach a useful size. Even thinning becomes food instead of waste, creating another early return while the main roots below continue growing toward a later harvest. One packet enters the bed. 2 vegetables leave it. Turnips win the 2-for-1 contest because they pay early above ground and later below it. They narrowly miss number 1 because the main root harvest eventually removes the plant. The winner keeps its growing point, replaces what you pick, and remains useful through a longer stretch of cooling weather. Number 1 is kale. It is not the fastest crop in the ranking, and it does not produce the heaviest harvest. It wins because it combines early usable leaves, repeated picking, strong cool weather performance, and a longer harvest window. Young leaves can be taken before the plant reaches full size. As it grows, harvest the lower outside leaves and leave the center intact. New foliage continues forming from that protected growing point. A small plant can therefore become a series of harvests rather than one final event. Kale also handles cooling conditions that stop zucchini, beans, and other warm season crops. Frost tolerance varies with variety, plant health, establishment, wind exposure, and protection, so do not assume every August planting will feed you all winter. In many gardens, however, established kale continues beyond the first light frosts and may improve in eating quality as the weather cools. The August mistake is planting too late, crowding seedlings, or stripping every leaf at once. Use a variety suited to the remaining season. Give plants realistic spacing, and begin with modest outer leaf harvests. Radish gives the fastest answer. Kale gives the longest answer. That combination makes it the winner of the August productivity draft. But the ranking has one final twist. Kale, turnips, radishes, and every other crop on this list can fail before productivity matters, because the most dangerous August deadline is often not frost. It is the first 7 days after planting. Late summer seedbeds can look wet after breakfast and become dry by mid-afternoon. Tiny seeds sit close to the surface, exactly where sun, wind, and crusting do the most damage. A crop may have enough calendar days to mature and still fail because the first root never survives emergence. The mistakes are simple: planting tiny seed too deeply, watering once and trusting the dark surface, covering the row with heavy mulch before seedlings can push through, setting tender transplants into hot afternoon sun without hardening them. Then, after seeing wilt, flooding the bed until the roots lose air, create a small proof test. Prepare 2 comparable short rows with the same crop and planting depth. Manage one with ordinary quick watering. Keep the other evenly moist using gentle irrigation and temporary light protection suited to the crop. Check both rows on days 3, 5, and 7. Record surface condition, moisture just below the seed, and emergence. Do not decide the result before the seedlings appear. Let the bed show whether your protection improved establishment. Check new seedings in the morning and again late in the day during hot weather. Water gently enough that seed stays in place. A breathable cover, light shade cloth, or board can reduce drying for certain rows, but inspect it daily and remove it at emergence. Around transplants, shade during the harshest hours may ease establishment, while moisture should remain steady rather than saturated. The seedbed itself is the first real test of your harvest. Most failed fall gardens were lost during germination, not at harvest. Protect those first 7 days, and the entire ranking becomes a practical plan you can start before the next weekend arrives. Begin with one piece of paper. Write your average first frost date, today's date, and the number of days between them. Choose one crop from the ranking, not 20 packets. Decide what you actually want: baby leaves, repeated cuttings, tender roots, pods, or a full mature head. Read the maturity description and confirm whether it begins at seeding or transplanting. Add a reasonable autumn buffer, then compare the total with the time you have. If the calculation is too tight, move to a faster crop or plan an earlier edible stage. Clear a small bed. Remove diseased debris and weeds. Loosen only what needs loosening, and restore used soil with finished compost or amendments supported by your soil needs. Moisten the bed before sowing. Plant during the cooler part of the day, follow the correct depth, and protect the seed zone from drying. Label the row with the crop, planting date, expected first usable harvest, average first frost, and a 7-day germination check. That label turns this season into information for the next one. Take one photograph on planting day so next year has a visual record. One well-planted row is more valuable than 20 unopened plans. Now return to the empty bed from the beginning, because what looked like the end of summer is ready to become a second harvest. The old vines are still leaving the garden, but the bare soil no longer looks finished. One section can hold a quick row of radishes. Another can carry turnips for greens and roots. A small block of chard, mustard, or kale can provide leaves repeatedly while temperatures fall. In a long season, a calculated planting of beans or zucchini may still earn its space. In a shorter season, the colder, faster crops are the wiser investment. These 20 crops were not ranked because each can technically grow somewhere in August. They were ranked by how effectively they can turn the season remaining in a typical home garden into usable food. That means speed to the first harvest, repeated picking, food from limited space, tolerance of cooler weather, and the chance of producing before a hard freeze. The ranking will shift with location. A Georgia gardener may have time for crops that a Minnesota gardener should skip. A protected bed beside a warm wall may behave differently from a low open patch. The correct crop is not simply number one on a list. It is the highest ranked crop that fits your own calendar and your actual harvest goal. So take one action within the next 48 hours. Find your average first frost date. Choose one suitable crop. Prepare one small bed and plant it correctly. Then protect the first 7 days as carefully as you protect the final harvest. In the comments, share your average first frost date and the one crop you are planting. Gardeners with similar seasons can compare choices instead of guessing from a zone number alone, and subscribe for practical garden decisions built on timing, observation, and realistic harvest potential. The window is narrowing, but it remains open for a thoughtful, well-timed second planting this week. Summer may be ending. Your most efficient second harvest can still begin now.